Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Tanner's Favorite Things. I'm Tanner Knight, and today we are here to talk about this guitar. Now, if you caught our last episode, it also focused around an LTD guitar. It was the LTD Phoenix Deluxe 1000. That was their top-of-the-line, offset, Firebird-esque style body, and it had Fishman Fluence pickups, and it was a really, really rock-solid guitar. Well, I didn't mean to trade it so quickly, but I got an offer to trade that specific guitar for this guitar, which is one that I actually wanted more in the long run, and I'm really glad that I came across this one because it has a lot of really cool things that I'd like to talk about. Number one, what is this? This is an LTD EC-1000 Deluxe. You can see all of that right here, LTD Deluxe, and then EC-1000 is on the block here. So that's our model. This is the top of the range for their single cut design. And in a minute, we'll take a look at a Les Paul compared to this. But what you'll notice immediately is that it is a single cut guitar. We have the body coming right into this part of the neck, and then we have the swoop here. Some notable differences, however, which we'll point out even more so side by side, are this slope here where the body joins the neck. It's not a perfect 90-degree angle. It has a little slope to it, as well as our cut here is what they call a Florentine cut. It's a sharper cut. So most Les Pauls have a Venetian rounded cut, and some do have the Florentine, but this is more rare than not to see on a Les Paul. So there's a couple differences. We have black binding on this guitar, but what is this particular model? This one has a very special top. It's a Koa top. So this is the EC-1000 Deluxe Koa. Used from 2016 till I think today. They have a couple versions of this. They may have discontinued it recently, but you can find a few different years of this very specific guitar. This one is made in Korea, as most of the 1000 series are. So what is Koa? Koa is a very special top. It's a Hawaiian tropical wood, I believe. I'm sure it occurs in other places, but I think it's mostly known to occur in Hawaii. And you can see it has a very nice pattern, very nice figuring, beautiful wood. It's a wood that I've wanted on a guitar for a long time. And Gibson makes Koa tops. I believe Fender has Koa guitars, that the whole body's made of Koa. And all of the other manufacturers can provide a Koa top. This one just happened to be on a single cut LTD 1000 Deluxe Series guitar made in Korea. A lot of boxes checked for me on this guitar. And why would one person want this guitar? Well, it's a very modern rock and roll metal oriented guitar. You can see it does have a stop tailpiece. So it's not a wham 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 kind of Kahler or Floyd Rose tremolo style guitar. It's stop tail. So I guess that aspect is a little traditional, but that doesn't mean that it has to be played traditionally. I think the pickups are kind of traditional, but I don't know if this particular configuration is very traditional. Our pickups are Seymour Duncan, so both in the neck and the bridge. Seymour Duncan neck is Custom 5, and then the bridge is the Jazz, the Seymour Duncan Jazz pickup. And both are very, very nice, very usable, mellow. They're not what I would call vintage. They do have a more aggressive bite to them than, say, a 57 Classic from Gibson, but they're not what I would call active style pickups. They are still passive, and they're just a little hotter wound than your regular style humbucker. We have ebony on the neck, on the fretboard rather. This is an ebony fretboard, something that I love on a guitar. I don't know. I love seeing black, and the grain on ebony is always really attractive in that it's very, very small and tight, so you can't see it very much. It's almost like a plastic wood, and I guess that's why Rich Light exists, because it mimics ebony very, very well. And this may start a whole firestorm in the comments, which I encourage you to chime in on if you hate Rich Light or whatever. But this is a real ebony fretboard, and everything else is mahogany except for the two stripes of bubinga, which run down this neck. This is a 5-piece neck, which is, it's not a through neck, it's a set neck, but they sculpted the hell out of it, and it's very smooth and very ergonomic. But if you look closely, you can see that we have 5 pieces, mahogany, bubinga, mahogany, bubinga, mahogany. So that's our neck build. Otherwise, 1-piece mahogany body is what it looks like. Can't find a seam in there at all, but you know, they might have snuck one in and really matched it well. But mahogany neck, mahogany body, Bubinga in the neck with a Koa top. Really exotic woods, not your everyday guitar. So the previous owner of this guitar, he's a real metal guy, and he had this strung up with some real heavy strings. I don't know exactly what they are, but they are heavy. So instead of putting a lot of stress on this whole thing, I just tuned this to D standard, so it sounds like this in clean. That's our tuning. And that is our bridge, our Seymour Duncan jazz pickup. We're playing through the PV 5150 amp. I don't think you can see it in the old viewfinder, but it's up there, and it's being plugged into my orange PPC 2x12 cabinet, which is down here, and that is loaded with two Celestion creamback speakers. I just swapped those out for the standard V30s that are usually in there. So now we have an 8 ohm cab and two Celestion creambacks. So that's our signal chain. It's being captured by a Sennheiser E906 microphone on one of the speakers, one of the Celestion creambacks. So that's what you're hearing out of the cab. My voice is being captured by this MXL ribbon microphone, the R40, and I've just got it positioned off here to the side. And this is actually one of the microphones that my wife Gabby and I use to podcast, so I find that it's really good for voice. We'll see if it picks up a lot of the extra noise with the cabinet and everything, but I think it's looking okay in the waveform so far. So that's what's going on. We have EC-1000 with a Koa top. Let's hear what she sounds like. That's our jazz pickup. Let's go to our neck. We have the Custom 5. So really nice cleans in both the bridge and the neck. Exactly what you would expect. Let's just bump that into the middle where we split the two. And this is traditional Gibson style wiring. We don't have any push-pull or anything like that. We just have two humbuckers. But we have two volumes. One volume for the neck. One volume for the bridge. So you can really wind in as much or as little of each pickup as you want when you mix the two. That's kind of unique to this wiring. Otherwise, we just have a single tone knob. Pretty nice. I like having less switches and toggles and knobs. The less the better. And this guitar is simple and very useful. And the picking area, it looks a little more compressed than on the Les Paul, but it feels accessible. There's nothing in the way. So let's go ahead and add a little dirt, and then we'll pull out a regular Les Paul and take a look at these side by side. Okay, so here we are in the neck. Let's go ahead and wind that up. I'm in the PV 5150 lead channel, so just the standard lead channel, no pedal. Ooh, got some hum to her. It sounds like this. I'm gonna engage my noise gate, so let's go ahead and do that right now. That takes away that hum. Well, almost. Sounds like this. So that's the bridge. Let's hear the neck pickup with that same PV5150 lead channel. A little muddier with that neck pickup in the lead channel, but certainly usable, a little sludgier, a little dirtier, still badass. All right, so here is an actual Les Paul. This is, in fact, my Gibson Les Paul Custom from 1987. And side by side, it's pretty similar, just at first blush. You have that single cut design, as I mentioned, and a belly carve. That's something that's very characteristic of the Les Paul. You've got that in spades on this LTD guitar. Really nice deep dish belly carve. Deeper than the one on this 1980s Les Paul Custom, but that is neither here nor there. The differences end with kind of the shape. Like I said, this is a 90-degree kind of perpendicular joint, whereas this one is much less perpendicular. And just for a close-up, you can see that there versus there, just perpendicular. And the Florentine cut versus the Venetian cut, which is a lot more rounded. You can see them side by side there. Pretty striking, but I can tell you that I love the design of the cutaway here. It just feels like it flows from this side into the next. Whereas this, it's beautiful and iconic, but it's just blocky and absolutely square. And speaking of square, this is a Les Paul Custom, but even the Les Paul Standard and Studio are built with this thickness. Well, I think the thickness varies, but still they have a flat back, which is not, that's not a bad thing. It just is the way these guitars are. Now, the LTD is also a flat back, but it has several comfort carves, such as this one here and this one here. And the neck joint as well is very different. Both set necks, but you can see the Les Paul just looks a little older, I guess, a little more traditional, whereas this one is very swoopy. And you can see what I mean by that swoop kind of just being organic and flowing into the horn, whereas this one, it stops and it starts again over here, which not bad. It's not a bad thing at all. These are just subtle differences that I'd like you to understand if you're thinking about buying this guitar versus a guitar like this from maybe Gibson or Epiphone. Let's take a few measurements here. So our body thickness right here is about 1.95 inches. That's right at the bottom bout. And let me take it a few other spots and verify that it doesn't get too much thicker than that. It's 2 inches at the heel where that strap lock is, and 1.94 at the top. So we're right around that 2-inch thickness on this guitar. Obviously the belly cut varies that throughout the width of it, but right around 2 inches in thickness. Now let's take a look at the LTD and see what kind of thickness we're dealing with here. So right at the bottom where these knobs come on, we have 1.67. So we're about 1/3 of an inch less of thickness, just body thickness. And let's take that around the edge. 1.63, about the same. 1.59 over here, and with that belly carve, it almost goes down to 1.57. So it's significantly thinner as a body. And here's what I cannot tell you. I don't have any experience with the original ESP Eclipse on which this guitar is based. LTD is a subsidiary, or kind of, it's not, I don't want to say it's a budget brand because they make really, really fine guitars, including this one, but they are the let's say international version of the ESP guitars that are made in Japan or here in the US. So LTD has licensed the designs from ESP, or it's their licensed manufacturer for lower price guitars. And speaking of price, this one is MSRP around $850, I think, or $899, something like that. Around that $900 price point. Even $1,000 for this guitar is certainly worth it. And I think that Phoenix might have been worth more from a value standpoint, but from a pure guitar standpoint, this is worth more to me at this point. So that's why I have this guitar. We have locking tuners and a some sort of synthetic nut. I'm not exactly sure what that is, but synthetic nut. We have 24 frets, something that's also a departure from the Gibson Les Paul. The Gibson has 22 frets. This one has 24 frets. So that's nice. And no fret nibs or anything like that on this guitar. It's just straight frets. Unlike the Gibson, which if you have binding on the neck, it tends to have fret nibs that kind of hide the ends. This one, just really nice fretwork on the end. It's just not, they don't hide the ends. They just kind of terminate. Otherwise, we do have that black binding, and that's along the whole edge of every aspect of this guitar, the neck and the body. So a nice touch there. I think it just adds a nice bit of class to this guitar. Otherwise, the hardware is black too, which I think is a really nice touch, matching the black everywhere else. So the black knurled knobs with the one white dot to tell you where they are. Very classy. They're recessed into that Bubinga top, so it's at least thick enough to where they can recess it and you don't see the wood underneath. So that tells you a little bit about the thickness of this veneer. It is in fact a veneer. It's not an actual chunky top like a Gibson Les Paul would have a maple top. It is a veneer, but it looks like it's more than just 1 or 2 millimeters thick, which they usually are pretty thin. So that's pretty cool. That's your comparison against the Gibson Les Paul. This is not a Les Paul. It's trying to be a Les Paul killer is the best I can come up with. And it really gets close to that with a lot of these features. The additional access up on the neck, the comfort cutaways that occur here and, here. So a lot of modern features, really nice modern pickups, and rock solid professional parts. I think these are Tone Pros parts, so that's pretty nice. Overall, just a really great guitar, a pro level guitar, and one that comes in under that $1,000 price point in most cases. So that's something really nice to look forward to. And it plays like a dream. I guess that's the most important thing. This guitar plays really, really well. I believe the fretboard is a 14 millimeter radius. I could be incorrect, it could be a 12, but I don't have a gauge for that. And it feels flatter than certainly this Les Paul and the Fenders of the world. So it's a little bit flatter, a little bit thinner, but it's not what I would call a wizard thin neck like those Ibanez wizard necks. It's a U shape, I think is what they call it, and that's probably what I would call it too. So nice neck. Let's actually get a neck depth at the 12th fret here if we can. We've got 0.89 inches, so that's a pretty slim neck all the way. It's very consistent too. 0.89, I'll bet it's probably 0.87 or 88 here at the first fret. And it's got a little volute on the back as well, so that kind of makes this part a little thicker and protects the neck, which is nice, but that's an older Gibson legacy item. They used to do that in the 70s and early 80s. So this is a great guitar. I've got nothing bad to say about it. It set up right out of the box. Great action all the way up the neck. Plays great. So what we're going to do is we're going to hear this guitar in the context of a little band, I guess. I have a looper pedal here that I have a guitar bass hooked up to. I play the drums along to that, and then I come out and just put a solo on top of that. And I find this to be a really good way for, number one, me to exercise my creativity and come up with a loop that's interesting and fun to play over, as well as something that gives you a good range of what this guitar is capable of. So first of all, we're going to show you what this thing sounds like in clean. So here is a loop that I created yesterday, so forgive the wardrobe change, but I'll let Past Tanner take it from here. Let's go ahead and hear what this thing sounds like in a clean loop. nothing bad to say there. Very clean, very usable tones. I think you could get away using this guitar in a variety of types of music that employ clean tones. And, that's a good idea. So let's go ahead and bump up the scale again and go ahead and see what it sounds like with the Tube Screamer first. This is the Ibanez Tube Screamer, and I use this primarily as kind of a rhythm crunch, but if there's kind of a mellow lead that I can throw over like a mellow backing track, then I'll use this as well, and it tends to add a nice bit of boost without being too aggressive. So here's the Tube Screamer. Next, we're going to go ahead and hear the Boss SD1, the Super Overdrive. This is one of my favorite dirt pedals. It's not the highest gain, but it's a higher gain boost. It's like the Ibanez Tube Screamer on a little bit of steroids, and it just adds a bit more body and a bit more aggressiveness. So here's the SD1, the Boss Super Overdrive, with this guitar and this amplifier. Finally, here is our highest gain option, or my highest gain option, the Boss Metal Zone MT2. This is my absolute favorite pedal, and it works so well in the context of this jazz pickup. So here is the bridge. Of course, we're all in the bridge for all of these, but the bridge pickup in the Metal Zone MT2 on the 5150 through the LTD. you can take away that this is a high value guitar. It has a price tag that comes in under $1,000, which is not always easy to find quality guitars at that price point. So under $1,000 with high quality woods and build construction, the set neck with the sculpted joint here, that's really, really advanced carpentry. And here it is on a guitar made in Korea. The 5-piece neck, the ebony fretboard, the locking tuners, the Seymour Duncan professional grade humbucking pickups, the easy control layout, the bubinga in the neck. We have the Koa on the top. Just all around, this is a great guitar and one that I highly recommend that you check out if you're looking for something similar. Of course, they make a ton of different Eclipse style guitars. So if you really have one in mind that's not quite like this, but it employs a different wood, go ahead and take a look. They might have one. So that's my advice for you if you're in that arena. This is my second LTD guitar, not including my brother's, which we'll showcase here one of these days. But this is my second LTD guitar, and so far I have absolutely no complaints. This is a rock solid axe, and one that I think you can work into a studio, into a live performance. It'll look great on stage. It'll sound great in the studio. It's quiet when you want it to be. It's loud when you want it to be. And it's a fun guitar. So there you go. LTD Eclipse style EC-1000 Deluxe. And this particular one is the Koa top from 2016. So let me know if you have any experience with this style of guitar or this exact guitar. If that would be great if you have any experience with the Koa top version. Let me know, and hopefully we can circle up in the comments and create a conversation. So thank you for watching. Always like and subscribe if you haven't. That helps out a ton. Otherwise, I hope to see you on the next one.